Welcome to the Miracle You, guiding you on the journey towards finding passion and purpose and how to discover, create, and live a life by your design. Whether your success has been plentiful or your missed opportunities have been overwhelming, we can help you become a more empowered, masterful person and show you how to share your gift with the world. It's time to inspire change from within with the host of the Miracle You, Vince Kramer.
Hello, imagination. I'm Vince Kramer, your host, and welcome to the Miracle You, where you learn about the magic of living your life by finding the example in real life. Our beliefs aren't real. They were formed at a very young age based on opinions and beliefs from those people in our lives that wanted to help us live life in the way they thought would be best for us. We also use the reactions to our actions to decide how we should act or feel, and then formed other beliefs on what was right or wrong, or how a good boy or girl should act or be. This was all based on observations before we had reasoning capabilities. Now that we're older and can look at things with a reasoning mind, we can choose beliefs that support us and our dreams. Today's guest shares with us his beliefs on character and living a life of character and how he is bringing more of himself to the world. I'm with you today with Justin Bailey of the Code of Character. I really respect this man for what he's bringing to the world and how he is awakening that in men. Justin is a husband, father, soldier, and lover of sports. He believes that character is when our actions are aligned with our values over a sustained period of time. Justin has noticed in his life, as well as over a decade of leadership position, is that when men fail to live a life of character, it is never a knowledge issue. We simply fail to do the things we know we should be doing for various reasons. He founded the Code of Character platform to help guide others and himself on a consistent path towards the vision we create for ourselves. Welcome, Justin. It's so good to have you here today.
Thank you so much, Vince. That sounds so much better when you read it than when I read it myself.
It's supposed to be that way, right? That's why you provided it.
Thanks for having me, man. I'm so honored to be on here, Vince. Thank you so much for having me. Let me get that there.
Back at you, especially, I have to tell the listeners that Justin's in just a few days off to Germany for a 3-year stint in a contracting job with the military. So we are blessed to have him here today because I'm sure so much is going on, packing up the house and everything else. Justin, I didn't share a whole lot there with that very short introduction. Can you give us a little bit more about what's going on in your life and what really brought you into the Code of Character?
I'll do my best to articulate it well, Vince. I am, like I said, my primary function here on this earth right now is to be a husband and a father. Those are the two biggest things in my life that I'm trying to do well. And past that, what I've learned and over the past couple of years is that I've been on a journey really since 2004, and we can talk about that a little bit later of what went down there. But I've been on a journey of trying to make myself better, trying to figure out who I am, who is Justin, what is my identity based on, and how can I live a life every single day that really reflects what I believe and who I am and what my identity is. And so I have a full-time job, and I'm a network engineer. I've worked in IT for 15 years or so. I've been military, I've been a civilian, I've worked corporate, and now I am, like I said, 2 years ago, I started Code of Character. I got out, I'll always put a little plug in. I got out of consumer debt. I paid off cars. I paid off credit cards. I'll tell you, Vince, I have to just say when that happened, my mind opened up, my creativity blossomed. For years I had kind of thought that I wasn't a creative person because I had a very fixed understanding of what that meant, and ideas started flowing through my head, and I started seeing things a little differently. And so I'm not saying that'll be the same for everyone, but that really broke free a lot of burdensome stress and baggage that was weighing down on me. And so that really started me kind of figuring out, okay, how can I help the world around me? And one of the things that I saw, kind of a couple of different avenues. One, as you mentioned, I've been in military leadership positions for over a decade, and I've noticed that when people fail, myself included, whether it's morally, legally, or whatever, relationally, it's not a knowledge problem. It's not a head problem. It's for some reason we're not doing the things that we know we should be doing. And a follow up to that is we're not doing the things that we believe in. And part of that is some of us don't know what we believe in. We're just kind of running around working on things that were ingrained from childhood. But so I started kind of trying to figure out why that is, right? And how can we change that? You look around and you see men in affluent positions, and almost all this stuff, Vince, let me clarify, because I get this question a lot. Almost all of it applies to women as well, I'm sure, right? I just really don't, at this point in my life, and when I started this, I didn't feel qualified to really speak in that to women. So I'm focusing on men, trying to help other men live a life that really inspires them. And I feel that if we can do that, if we can do those two things, if we can get more men doing what they believe is right, whatever those things are, I don't try to tell you what's right. I just say if we can just get guys doing what they say they believe in, and if we can get guys living inspired lives, I think that a ton of societal problems will start healing.
Boy, I definitely believe that everything starts on the inside. And once you find the inside and start living who you are, the example that you bring out into the world is really what makes the difference in the world. It's truly being that example. But especially men, over the last several years, maybe even the last decade, we've spent so much time living by the rules of everyone else. So I know exactly where you're coming from and exactly where you're going. It's really, you've really stepped outside of your world, though, after your stint with the getting out of debt and everything. What would you say your mission is when it comes to working with men in the code of character?
So I've got two missions primarily. The first one is kind of what I touched on, and that is helping men find their identity, helping men find their strength in knowing who they are and what they believe, and kind of reaching them on a personal level. And then the other one with the actual code of character community, what we're trying to do there is to build a bridge among people who are different, whether it's racial or whether it's political or whether it's religious or whatever that might be, and to focus on the things that we believe in, the common values that we believe in. Because I believe that most men, right, and there's always outliers, so we get the but group, right, there's outliers, but most of us, we have, and I'm throwing a number out there, right, so 80%, I'll just throw out the famous 80-20, right, that we believe, we value a lot of the same things. Let's say 80%, but we spend our time kind of focusing on that 10 to 20% that we don't agree with, and that's kind of where you see that infighting about stuff that really, I'm not going to say it doesn't matter, but it's not the stuff we need to be focused on. Vince, you and I probably have some disagreements, man, but I know that we have a lot of agreements and a lot of things that we value and that we can support each other in, and those are the things that I want men to be focusing on and building relationships on.
So I'm sure that, and actually I know that you've experienced some challenges going through that, because I'm a member of the Facebook group and really enjoy the comments there. Some of those challenges, one of the things that I'd like to share with people is that we've been preparing all our lives to live our purpose, to live our mission. So with some of those challenges, could you share with the audience some of your experiences that prepared you for the challenges to step into this world?
Sure. Yeah. So the first big challenge, and when I share my story, and you are right, I'm stepping way out of my comfort zone here, Vince. I spent, I'm 38 now, so I spent the first 25 years or so, being very confident that I had it all together and not exposing myself and not really talking about failures and things like that. I was very achievement focused and very driven by accomplishment and getting the right answers, all those things that did not serve me well. And so in 2004, after 4 years of marriage, my wife wanted a separation and we were going to get a divorce. It was short lived, but it was a huge wake up call. I didn't know it at the time, and it took me, I don't know, maybe 10 years to really come back and drill back to find out that was the catalyst that I needed to figure out who I was, because I had misplaced my identity in so many different things. The last one being my marriage there, but it was always finding identity in some type of an achievement, and that's the same with so many men, but it's not always the same, right? Different people have different stories, of course. But that kind of event, that really was a catalyst to me start trying to figure out, okay, I need to be different. I don't know what that looks like. And it's still ongoing for 14 years. And I'm hoping it will continue the rest of my life, and to, like you said, kind of to live that purpose and step into it, and as it maybe be able to fill it in different ways. Not that it's going to change, but be able to fill it in some different ways, like you have, Vince, and the different roles that you've lived out. And I'm excited about the future, and I am now understanding that my past has brought me to this point.
That's amazing, and what a perfect line to flow into where I'd like to go next with you. First of all, yes, there is a bit of difference. I think like 22 years difference between the two of us. So, took me to 50 years old for a wake-up call to really push me in the right direction. And to be honest with you, there was so many wake-up calls before that. I probably had many of them well even before 38.
Me too.
Can you look back at? Well, great. I'd love for you to share with the nation a little bit on some of those wake up calls that you've kind of ignored, and then why the separation was really the one that grabbed a hold of you.
So, well, the first thing was probably angst. So during my teenage years and my early 20s or whatever, that was, it kind of all rolled in. I got married young. I was 20. My wife was 19. So a lot of this stuff kind of rolls in with just growing up, and kind of being, I don't want to say thrust into a position, but that's kind of how I felt. My decisions were just happening, and I was making, my wife and I were getting married. We joined the Army. We moved to Europe very quickly, and all this stuff was just kind of happening. And so I had a lot of angst at the time. And, I think that, you can kind of, if you look at just physiologically, like the body is changing during teenage years and whatnot. But part of that, as I go back and I look at some events that happened or whatever, they were just me, like I said, misplacing who I was. I had this idea that the things that I did were defining me, and that I was, if I failed, then that would be a stain or a mark against who I was as a man. And so as we can celebrate accomplishments, for sure, when we get wrapped up in our accomplishments, that's going to be problematic. And so that was really the first thing that when I look back, and I had no idea at the time, but when I look back on it, those are the things that kind of came to the forefront, was me not being able to handle rejection and not being able to handle failure. And so that carried straight into my marriage, getting married at a young age and still not really knowing who I was, and accepting the way that quite frankly, my wife and I were just not getting along, because I wasn't treating her right. I was not doing the things that I should do, and not communicating well, not being a good partner, if you will. And so all of that, the acceptance of that was kind of another thing that I should have understood, was, this isn't normal. This isn't right. I know this isn't right, but I'd accepted that. And then when we had some issues and she decided, she didn't want to be married to me, the first thing I did was I lied to myself. So I played dumb, right? And so I said, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what the problem is, these types of things. And so I think that when you start yourself out with a lie like that, especially to a significant event, that's a pretty key indicator that you've got some identity problems, or you're not confident with yourself. You don't know who you are, and that you need to probably dig in and start figuring out, okay, who am I without this other person, without this job, without my religion, whatever it is, right? Whatever these external things that you've been taught maybe to identify yourself as, and get to the core of who you are without the external indicators.
Oh, that's pretty amazing. And one of the interesting things is in my work in Imagine Miracles, I've been attracting a lot of Gen Xers and a lot of millennials into the business, which actually surprised me, but it shouldn't, because so many of young adults now really want to make a difference in the world and step out. You said 2004, so right about the time you were 24 years old, you decided to kind of step up and look the rules of society right in the face and say, no, I need to live another way. This way of living for accomplishment, this living for attainment isn't working for me. Can you share with the listeners a little bit about how it felt, first of all, to stand up to society, and second of all, what you did to help yourself do that?
So I didn't know what I was doing when I started, Vince. I knew that I could not control the situation I was in anymore, which was another issue that I had, and something I still battle, right, is trying to control everything around me. And so I knew that I couldn't control my wife's decision. I knew that I couldn't control where I was at in that moment. I had the choice that I could have left where I was, but I would have been AWOL, and I would have been, eventually had some serious ramifications. But I was in a position where I was 24 years old. I just made sergeant in the Army. I thought I was all that. And then I realized, boom, maybe I'm not. And so the first step that I came to was in the following few days, pretty quickly, I had to just let go of control, and I spent time in some prayer, and I spent time in some thought, and said, I just have to give this up, and I have to start figuring out what can I do to be a better person. And then when my wife and I got back together, it was, how can I treat her well? Like, just something very simple, and stop being the jerk I had been. And so it really started with that, and then it started snowballing to say, okay, if I can just be a better husband. And it kind of was backwards, right? Because the first thing was like, let's be a better husband. And then over the next, I don't know, just for the next years, leading still today, it started saying, okay, how do I be a better person? Then I went through a time where I was like, how do I be a better father? It was always like, okay, how can I be a little bit better? And I didn't know that the identity was the central piece. I know that now. But at the time, it was that baby steps thing, right? So I started reading books. I know Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl was one of the big ones first that I read, and just reading through his stuff and thinking, just that, how can a man in a concentration camp still say that you can control your thoughts, you can control your reasoned reaction, when he should have just been furious, and he should have been, he was in a prison, right? He was in a prison, but he still said that you can't take your reaction from you. You can always have your response. And so that's a big thing that I've carried with me to today, is that, people can do all kinds of things to you or around you, but how you respond is on you, no matter what. And I get caught up in it for sure still to this day, but I tell my kids all the time, when they they'll get in trouble, and they'll say Lincoln did it, or Barrett did this, or whatever, and I'll say, but they didn't make you hit them back. They might have kicked you, but they didn't make you do X, right? Nobody can make you do that. And so that's another thing that I have to continually just tell myself, is we are responsible for our responses, regardless of what's going on around us. And I know I kind of went off on a tangent there, Vince, but
no, that's actually awesome. Some of the most important things is to realize that we do have to surrender to life. And yes, we have to learn to master our mind, because when we master our mind, we change our lives. And you gave us a perfect example of that. I really appreciate that. As you know, we talked a little bit earlier before we started the podcast that, the podcast, the Miracle You, is really to help people learn a little bit more about living life in their own miracle way. But it's also about the miracle of you, Justin. Can you share with us a little bit? First of all, our definition of miracle is through an act of love, sharing your gifts and talents with the world so others can share theirs. Tell us about the miracle of you.
Okay, I'm just reviewing this definition real quick. Through an act of love, sharing your gifts and talents with the world so others can share theirs. I love that. I really like that. That definition there is kind of, one of the guys in our mastermind the other day said, what makes you come alive? He asked that question. And for me, at this point in my life, it's watching other people. It's not watching. I said that at first, and then I was like, nope, that takes the selfish element out of it. There is a selfish element. It's being part of someone exceeding their self-imposed limitations, right? And that's what I really love, is being part of someone who is pushing past what they thought was capable. And so for me, my miracle has been this awakening that I've had over the past 14 years, and it's challenging who I thought I was. It's challenging who I was taught to be. And even if I come back to that, that's fine, because I know that I know it's based on what I believe to be true. And so it's really just been being able to be honest, being able to challenge the things that I thought, to accept things that other people believe based on their perspectives and their experiences, while not wavering in my own. And so when I pass this on to other men, my goal is kind of like I said, I think that so many people put a ceiling on themselves that we can all just break through, and it looks different for everybody. But we just have, Vince, I don't like to try to get into all the reasons why and to figure out why everybody's against us and all this kind of stuff, because I don't believe that. But I do believe that we all hit a point in our life where we go, for some reason, I or someone around me has put these limitations on me, and I want to break through them, And so I really want to help other guys say, the old thing back when you're a kid and you say, I want to be whatever. And you tell the kid, you can be anything you want. Right. And so I want to be that guy that can be next to somebody and say, you can be anything you want. Obviously, there's limitations. Obviously, there's outliers, right? Because we get guys in the group, Vince, you've seen them. Well, but what about this? I can't be a tree. Okay, you can't be a tree. But, so I just want to be that guy that is just a small part of helping other people break past their limitations and exceed their self-perceived potential.
That is so awesome. And, you said something about selfish, and I like to bring a little bit different definition of selfish in, because
Sure.
you have to be selfish in learning and understanding who you are, and learning and understanding what you have to bring to the world, because that's when you open the doors. That's how you can stand next to somebody and say you can be anything that you want to be. But you have to get inside to know what it is that you truly want to be. It's not what the world wants you to be. It's not what your parents want you to be. It's what you want. So you gotta kind of climb inside your own skin and get to know you. And in a way, that is being selfish. And what a powerful way to start bringing yourself to the world, by being a little selfish to get to know you in a way that, as the definition says, allows others to share themselves, because you can share yours. Very powerful.
Yeah, I agree, Vince. And I don't really look at selfish as a bad thing. So it's just there, right? It is what it is. Now, when you become self-absorbed, then that becomes a problem. But I agree with it. We were just at a men's event a couple weeks ago, and I kind of gave my story, and I kind of veered off into the topic of, I don't think that we're not doing what we want to do. We need to be doing what we want to do, right? We got obligations that we have to take care of, but if they're not supporting the things that we want and the vision that we have for ourselves, then we need to start reevaluating that, right? And so, like you said, there's a selfish element in there, that we have to do things that help us come alive and to fill our cup up so that we can share them with the people around us.
Can't share much with an empty cup, can we?
No doubt, man, for sure.
So
nobody.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, nobody likes someone with an empty cup, and they're bitter and they're resentful. They could be doing the nicest thing in the world for you, all these things for you, but if you're running around bitter and resentful, nobody wants to be around you.
No, for sure. And you're definitely giving us an example of how to share out of your full cup. So we appreciate that. Where would your next move be? Where would you like to take the code, or where would you like to take Justin to share more of who you are in the world?
That's an interesting question, Vince, that I've been asked several times lately. Right now, we are taking the family to Germany. That's where we're focused. And the group right now, I'm really wanting to find the people who need it, to find the people who need the conversations that we're having, not adding at the beginning when I started the group, I was like, I got to get a bunch of people. I got to spread this out to as many people as needed. And what I found was, and it's common sense, but when you're in the middle of trying to grow something, you don't think about it. I don't need to get it to my focus doesn't need to be on getting to the most people. It needs to be getting to the right people, right? And so that's getting our message and our relationships in front of the people who really need it. There's a lot of people out there who are doing amazing things in the world, just like you, Vince, and you spent some time with. Did you spend some time with our mastermind, or was it just on the podcast? I can't remember.
Just on the podcast.
Okay, but you had some follow up with some of the guys in my group.
Yes, many of them.
Yes. And so some guys are gonna speak with you, and you're gonna resonate with them, and you're really gonna be able to help them, right? And then there may be some other guys that talk, and they're like, nah, Vince isn't my thing. It's this other guy over here, right? And so some people are gonna be able to speak. I'll be able to speak into some people's lives, and some people I'm gonna be like, okay, well, go check out what Vince is doing over here, right? And so my mission here is to to help be a facilitator to help more men, whether it's me, whether it's Vince, whether it's another group, or whether it's a church, or whatever it is, right? Is to help people get to the right kind of groups and the right kind of teachings and the right kind of lessons to, again, help them come alive, be inspired, and live with purpose.
Well, you know how important I feel the collective energy is and how powerful and positive it is. So we're going to ask the imagination to really bring all their energies together to support you in doing that, being that facilitator that opens the door to so many people by sending them in the right direction. You're kind of the GPS of getting people moving down their paths, and that's why I know in the future we're going to be spending a lot of time together and doing a lot of things together, because I want to help them once they get on that path. So we kind of mesh very well. We're kind of getting to the end of our time. Do you mind doing a few little lightning round things?
Yeah, let's do it, Vince.
Excellent. Well, what do you think right now is the biggest thing holding you back from experiencing the life that you want?
I don't know that anything is holding me back, Vince. I know that at times my pride gets in the way. At times ignorance gets in the way. But those things I've gotten to a point in my life where I can quickly identify those things. Sometimes like I said, a lot of it comes back to my ego, comes back to me recognizing, what I should be doing, not versus what other people think I should be doing. And so it's a matter of me staying sharp. That's what it is, Vince. It's a matter of me getting back to the group, right? It's a matter of me doing the things that I know I need to be doing, right. And so I stay on task by keeping good people in my life that will help me with that, and keeping focused. Because if I were to sit here and lead a group like this and do a podcast like this, and then the other 23 hours of the day I wasn't focused on that, then you lose focus quick, right? Yes. So the temptation of loss of focus is a big one too. I don't think anything's stopping me. It's just a matter of me staying focused on what I know to be true and what I know to be right.
And that's one of the reasons I asked you to be on the podcast, my friend, because I want people to see that there's really nothing holding you back out there. It's just, as you said earlier, mastering the mind, taking the step, realizing that this is my pattern, and I'm the only one that can step myself out of that pattern. So, excellent. Thank you very much for that. What's the best advice you've ever received?
That would be that you can only control yourself. You can only control your actions, your responses. You can't control other people. You can influence other people, yes. And like I said, when I get the but crowds, that's what they'll come back with for sure. You can influence other people with the way you live, but in the end, it's their decision because they control themselves. So stop trying to control the world around you. Stop trying to control your boss and your manager or your wife or your kids. Yes, even your kids. You cannot control your kids because they have their own response mechanisms that you can dominate them, but you can't control them. So once I learned that, like you said, I can control my mind, my actions are going to spring forth from those thoughts, and focus on those things. That's a full-time job, man. So, we're out there trying to control everything in the world, man, but just try to control our own thoughts and our own actions, and we're good to go there.
One of the things, Justin and I believe that beliefs aren't real. So you can actually accept your beliefs. You can program your beliefs to support you in the life that you want. So what's one of your personal beliefs that contributes to your happiness, health, and abundance?
I kind of want to hear more about this beliefs aren't real. I can't remember if we talked about this. Did we talk about this on the podcast? I don't know if we did.
I'm not sure if we did or not, but beliefs are only things that we put together as we try to be happy, to try to make sure that we were loved, to make sure we had everything we need. So we developed a set of beliefs that are not necessarily true. It's just something that we looked at life and said, well, this is the way it is, and we tend to live with that. And those beliefs were formed way back at 2 through 7, and most of us just kind of carry on. You've changed your beliefs. I can tell by how happy you are. I can tell that your heart's open and you're sharing with the world. So there's got to be a belief in there that really lends itself to that happiness, that health, and the abundance. What do you think it is?
Sure. Yeah, that is the belief that the creator of the universe is working in my favor, and that there is abundance in my future, and I'm going to have bad times and good times, but I believe that there's a force working for me and my family, and I'm grateful for that.
Well, we're running out of time here, but I would like you to give us a parting piece of guidance, something that would really help each person that's listening on their path.
So I would tell you some, and if I give a piece of guidance to fatherhood or parenthood here, Vince? Do you mind?
No, you can. It's your guidance, and we want to hear it.
So this is just one recently that I've been really trying to think about, and that is when dealing. It's not for parenthood. I've thought about it from a parenthood perspective, but it's really anybody. When you treat other people, think about are you damaging, or are you enhancing the connection between you two? And that gets kind of tough, specifically with parenthood. So this advice was given to me in that regard of how do you discipline and love. But it's with any relationship, when you're going to say something, when you're going to do something, think to yourself, does this enhance or is this damage the connection there?
That's an amazing piece of advice. Thank you very much. How can people get a hold of you, Justin?
So if you're on Facebook, the easiest way is there. You can shoot me a message, or you can come join our Facebook group, Code of Character. It's a free group for men only. Sorry, ladies, it is for men only right now, and will be. Or you can come to codeofcharacter.com. You can kind of see all the things that we got going on there. We got a podcast and we got a mastermind and those types of things. So yeah, I'm easy to find.
Excellent. We appreciate that. And all that information will be available on the show page for you. So just go to the show page, look up the information. You'll be able to find those links. You'll be able to link right into Justin's pages by just clicking on the links that I provide for you. Justin, thank you so much for taking some time out of your busy day. We're excited for you moving off to Germany, taking the family to a new adventure, something to share with them that will form a bond that will come up over and over again throughout your life. What an amazing thing to do. And we all appreciate what you shared with us today.
Thanks, Vince. It was an absolute honor. I love what you're doing with the Imagine Miracle, Vince, and I'm following you. I am learning from you as much as possible, sir, as you lead the way. So thank you.
And thank you. Have a great day.
You do the same.
You've completed this episode of The Miracle You, but we have plenty more to help you discover your own personal passion and purpose. Head over to themiracleyou.com for free resources to assist you on your journey, as well as register for our free webinar, Discover Your Miracle Life, 3 mind-awakening steps toward your unique purpose, or apply for a one-on-one Your Life, Your Way breakthrough session and discover your next best step on your journey. All available exclusively on our website. That's themiracleyou.com. We look forward to sharing more experiences of passion, purpose, and life by design next time, right here on The Miracle You.